The island Mr. wind was strong that evening, and the waves were higher than Alex had ever seen before. He held the side of his small boat tightly as it rocked wildly in the storm. The sky was dark, full of heavy black clouds. Lightning flashed in the distance, and the sea roared like a monster. Alex had been sailing alone for days, looking for small islands to explore. It was his hobby, to find places where no one else went. But this time, he felt something was wrong. The compass on his boat stopped working an hour ago. And now, the storm came out of nowhere. Suddenly, a huge wave struck the boat, throwing him into the freezing water. Everything became a blur. He tried to swim, but the water was too strong. He felt himself sinking, until his hand touched something. Solid. It was sand. Alex opened his eyes and coughed hard. He was lying on a beach. His boat was nowhere to be seen. He looked around. The sun was rising now, and the storm was gone, as if it had never happened. He was on an island, but not the kind he had ever seen on a map. The sand sparkled strangely in the sunlight, and the air smelled sweet, almost like flowers. He stood up and looked around. The beach was quiet, except for the sound of soft waves. Behind him, there were tall trees, their leaves shining with shades of blue and green. Everything felt different, almost alive. "Hello?" Alex called out, though he knew no one was there. His voice echoed back to him. He checked his pockets. His phone was wet and dead, of course. He sighed. Great. Stranded on some random island. He decided to walk along the beach first. Maybe there was a hut, a fishing boat, or even another person. But as he walked, he noticed something strange. The sand wasn't just sparkling. It was warm, even though the wind was cool. And then he saw something else. Footprints. He stopped. The footprints were fresh, but they didn't look right. They were too long, with only 3 toes, and they sank deeper into the sand than his own. They led from the trees to the rocks at the edge of the beach. Alex crouched down to look closer. The footprints almost glowed faintly. He felt a shiver go down his spine. What made these? He whispered. He followed the tracks slowly. As he moved closer to the rocks, he noticed more odd things. Shells on the shore were shaped like tiny stars. Small crabs with translucent shells scuttled across his path, their bodies glowing softly. Behind the rocks, the beach ended, and a narrow path led into the forest. The footprints continued there. The trees made a tunnel of blue-green light. It was quiet inside, too quiet. He couldn't even hear birds. Hello? He called again, though this time his voice was lower. He wasn't sure he wanted anyone or anything to answer. Suddenly, he heard something, a soft rustling ahead. He froze. The sound grew louder, like someone walking very slowly over dry leaves. And then he saw her. At first, he thought it was just a trick of the light. She stood at the far end of the path, partly hidden behind a tree. She was tall and thin, with long hair that shimmered silver under the strange light. She wore something white, almost like a dress, though it seemed to float around her rather than touch her skin. Alex took a step forward. "Hey," he called. "Hey, are you okay? Do you live here?" The woman didn't answer. She only tilted her head slightly, as if curious. Even from a distance, Alex could see something was off. Her skin looked pale, but not pale like a human. It almost glowed, like the shells on the beach. "Look," Alex said, trying to sound calm. "I don't want trouble. My boat sank. I'm stranded here." She stepped out from behind the tree, moving gracefully, almost like she was floating. Her eyes, even from here, Alex could see them, were not normal. They were large, shining blue, and they didn't blink. Alex' breath caught in his throat. For a moment, They just stared at each other. He felt like he couldn't move. And then she vanished. 1 second she was there, the next she was gone, as if the air itself had swallowed her. Alex blinked, rubbed his eyes, and looked again. Nothing, just the empty forest path. He stood there for a long moment, his heart pounding. What the hell? He muttered Dot, but then something even stranger happened. The air around him seemed to grow warmer. The leaves above him started to glow softly, and he heard a whisper, faint but clear, as if someone was standing right next to his ear. You shouldn't be here. Alex spun around. No one. Just the trees, silent and still. He backed away slowly, his eyes wide. He didn't know if he was imagining things, or if this island was playing tricks on him. But one thing was clear now. He was not alone, and whoever or whatever was here did not want him to stay. The woman who wasn't human, Alex, could not sleep that night. He sat on the sand, staring at the dark forest where he had seen her. The woman, or whatever she was. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her glowing blue eyes, her strange pale skin, and the way she had vanished into thin air. He told himself it was just the shock of the shipwreck, the exhaustion, maybe even the fever. But deep inside, he knew it wasn't his imagination. She was real, Dot, and she had whispered something to him. You shouldn't be here. Why? What did she mean? The moon climbed higher, throwing silver light over the ocean. The waves were calm now, but Alex still felt uneasy, as if the island itself was watching him. After hours of sitting there, he finally stood up. He couldn't just wait. He had to find her again. He had to know the truth. He walked back to the forest. The same path, the same glowing leaves, but now it felt colder. The air was heavy and still. His footsteps made almost no sound on the strange, soft ground. The further he went, the stranger everything became. He noticed that the trees were not normal trees. Their bark was smooth and faintly glowing, and their roots seemed to move very slowly, as if alive. He swallowed hard and kept walking. Soon he reached a clearing, and there she was. She was standing at the center of the clearing, her back to him. Her hair shimmered like silver threads in the moonlight. She stood perfectly still, as if she had been waiting for him. Hey, Alex said softly. I just want to talk. Okay? She didn't move. He stepped closer, his heart hammering in his chest. I don't know who you are, he continued, but I need help. My boat's gone. I'm stranded. Please, can you help me? Slowly, she turned her head, and that's when Alex saw her eyes again, bright, electric blue, almost glowing in the dark. But now he could see something else. She wasn't breathing. She just stood there. Then she spoke. Her voice was soft, melodic, but the words didn't sound like any language Alex had ever heard. Falarin Keshtara. He froze. I don't understand, he said. Her head tilted to the side. Then, to his surprise, she stepped toward him. With each step she took, the ground seemed to light up faintly under her feet. She stopped just a few feet away. Now, Alex could see her face clearly. She was beautiful, but not in a human way. Her skin was almost translucent, with faint patterns glowing beneath it. Her dress, or whatever she wore, seemed to be made of some kind of soft light rather than fabric. She raised a hand slowly, almost touching his chest. Alex didn't move. Then, very softly, she spoke again, this time in English. You should not be here. Her voice was strange, layered, as if more than one person was speaking at once. Why? Alex asked. Who are you? She stared at him for a long moment. And then she whispered something that made his blood run cold. They will come. Before he could ask what that meant, the ground shook. A deep, Low rumble rolled through the forest, and the glowing leaves above them flickered like dying lights. Alex looked around wildly. What was that? But when he turned back, she was gone. He spun in a circle, searching the clearing. Hey, where did you go? Suddenly, a beam of light shot down from the sky into the trees ahead of him, blinding, bright, and silent. Alex shielded his eyes and stepped back. The beam stayed there for a few seconds before fading away, and then he saw something moving where the light had been. Something tall, something that didn't walk. It floated. Shadows with long, thin arms and glowing white eyes. Alex stumbled backward, his breath quick and shallow. And then he heard her voice again, though he couldn't see her now, whispering from somewhere. Close, run. He didn't wait to think. He turned and ran. Branches tore at his clothes. Roots tripped him, but he didn't stop. Behind him, he heard strange sounds, clicking noises, like claws on stone, and a low humming that made his teeth ache. He burst out of the forest and back onto the beach, his chest burning. He fell to his knees, gasping, and dared to glance. Back, the forest was dark and quiet now, as if nothing had happened, but he could still feel them there. Watching, waiting, he sat on the sand for a long time, shaking, staring at the trees. She wasn't just some woman trapped on an island. She was something else. And whoever they were already here. The hidden truth night passed slowly. Alex sat by the water, staring at the dark forest. He didn't sleep. He COULDN single quotes T. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard her whisper, "You shouldn't be here. They will come. Run." But where would he run? The ocean stretched endlessly in one direction, the forest in the other. And now he knew. This wasn't just an island. Something or someone was hunting here. He didn't know why they hadn't caught him yet. Maybe she had saved him. Maybe they were just playing with him. When the sun finally rose, painting the sky in red and gold, Alex stood up. He decided he couldn't just sit and wait to die. He had to find her again. She was the only one who seemed to know what was really happening. So, with shaking hands, he stepped back into the forest. The trees were different in the daylight, still strange, but less threatening. The glowing leaves had dimmed, though they still pulsed faintly under his fingers when he touched them. The ground felt warm beneath his feet, almost alive. He walked deeper this time, following his memory of the path, though he had no real idea where to go. Then he saw something he hadn't noticed before. A line of stones half buried in the earth, forming a kind of trail. The stones were black and flat, each one marked with glowing symbols. He crouched to study one. The markings shimmered like liquid light and shifted slightly as he watched, making him dizzy. He got up and followed them. After a while, the air grew cooler. The forest opened into another clearing, much bigger than the one from last night. At the center of this clearing was something that made his stomach drop. A door. A massive circular door stood upright in the middle of the clearing, surrounded by strange black pillars that hummed quietly. The door wasn't made of wood or metal. It looked like smooth stone, but it glowed faintly from inside. There were no handles, no hinges, and around the base of the door, the earth was cracked and scorched, as if lightning had struck there many times. Alex stepped closer, drawn to it. And then he heard her voice again. "Stop." He froze. She stepped out from behind one of the pillars, silent as a shadow. Her silver hair glimmered even in the weak light, and her glowing blue eyes fixed on him. What is that?" Alex asked, pointing at the door. She didn't answer right away. She just stood there, her hands at her sides, watching him. Then she spoke. "You found it." Her voice was calm, but there was something sharp beneath it, like fear or anger. Alex swallowed hard. What is it? She tilted her head slightly. The core. He stared at her. The core? What does that mean? She stepped closer, her bare feet making no sound on the warm earth. This is where it began, and where it ends. Alex shook his head, confused. I don't understand. What is this place? What are you? She stopped just a few feet away from him now. This is not your world, she said softly. This is a scar on your world, a place they made, a prison for me. Alex stared at her, his mind spinning. You're a prisoner? Her eyes glowed brighter for a moment, and the humming of the pillars grew louder. They put me here when I refused to help them. They built this door to hold me, but now, she looked down at her hands. It is weakening. Alex stepped back slightly, unease crawling up his spine. Who are they? Her. Gaze shifted to the sky for a long moment. Hunters. Not from here, not like you. They came for your world long ago, but I stopped them. They could not kill me, so they trapped me instead. And they're still here, watching, waiting. The words hit Alex like a punch. So those things last night? She nodded once. The hunters. They guard this place. They keep me here. And now they know about you. Alex's breath quickened. He felt cold despite the warm ground. Why me? I didn't. I just crashed here. I didn't mean to. You woke the island, she interrupted gently. It was sleeping before. But you touched it, walked it, saw me, now they know. Alex stared at her, shaking his head. So what do I do? How do I leave? Her eyes glowed brighter still, and for the first time, her expression softened, almost sad. You cannot leave. Not anymore. Unless... Alex swallowed hard. Unless what? She turned to look at the massive door. Unless you help me unlock the core. Free me, and you free yourself. Alex stared at the strange circular door, at the faint light pulsing inside it, at the scorched earth, at the pillars humming louder, now doubt the hunters. The prison. The core. He didn't know what to believe anymore. But he did know one thing. If he stayed here much longer without answers, those things would find him. And if what she said was true, freeing her might be his only chance. He took a shaky step toward the door. Wait, she said suddenly, her voice sharper now. He stopped. If you choose to help me, she whispered, stepping closer, you cannot turn back. Not ever. They will come for you too. You will not be the same. Alex turned to look at her strange glowing eyes, and asked quietly, Then, why should I help you? She met his gaze, and for the first time, he saw a flicker of something human in her expression. Pain, fear, and something else he couldn't name. Because if you don't, they will burn your world to ash. The words hung heavy in the air between them, not behind them. In the shadows of the trees, the faint white eyes of the hunters began to appear, one by one, watching, and Alex knew. He didn't have much time left to decide. The Korelex stood frozen in front of the strange glowing door. His breath shallow dot behind him. The hunters waited silently at the edge of the trees, their tall shadowy forms almost invisible except for their cold, white eyes that glowed faintly in the darkness. Ahead of him, the woman, Lyra, as she finally whispered her name to him, stood beside the door, her gaze fixed on him. Choose, she said quietly, her voice like wind through glass. Alex stared at the door, at the swirling light inside its cracks, at the faint symbols that moved across. Its surface like liquid. If I open it, he asked, his voice low, what happens to me? Lyra's glowing eyes blinked, slowly, almost sadly. You will see, she said. He looked back at the hunters. They weren't moving yet, just watching, waiting. He swallowed hard, then nodded. Double quotes fine, he said, though his hands trembled. Show me how. A faint shimmer passed over Lyra's skin at his words, like she had been holding her breath this whole time. She stepped closer to the door and raised her hand. Place your palm here, she instructed, pointing to a faint circle of light in the center of the door. Alex hesitated, then pressed his hand against it. Immediately, the door grew warm under his palm. The symbols began to spin faster, the light. Inside it flared brighter, and then everything went black. He gasped, but he wasn't falling. He wasn't standing either. He was somewhere else. He stood in a vast black space that stretched endlessly in every direction. Above him, golden stars blazed in strange patterns. Below him, nothing, just darkness. And in front of him floated a huge sphere of light. The core. It pulsed like a giant heart, sending waves of energy through the emptiness. Its surface was covered in strange moving shapes, alien cities, giant creatures, rivers of fire and ice. Alex reached out instinctively, but as his fingers got closer, visions struck him like lightning. He saw entire worlds burning under dark. Ships, oceans boiling, skies full of screaming light. He saw hunters, hundreds, thousands of them, moving like shadows over cities, ripping them apart. He saw Lyra, chained to a pillar of light, her eyes dull and lifeless as the hunters circled her. And then he saw himself, his own face, but older, harder, staring back at him from inside the core. What is this? He whispered. Memory, came Lyra's voice, though she wasn't here. And prophecy. The core shows you what was, and what could be. Alex pulled his hand back, gasping. Suddenly the black space shattered like glass, and he was back in the clearing, back in front of the door. He stumbled backward, clutching his head. What the hell was that? He asked, breathing hard. Lyra watched him with an unreadable expression. That is what they want. They feed on worlds. The core holds the key to stopping them, or freeing them. It depends on you. Alex shook his head. You want me to stop them? Me? How? I'm nobody. For the first time, Lyra's mouth curved into a faint smile. So was I once. He stared at her, unsure what to say. But then, a horrible sound cut through the air. A sharp, metallic shriek, like metal tearing apart. He spun toward the trees. The hunters were moving now, stepping into the clearing, their white eyes burning brighter. One of them lifted its long arm and pointed at him. The humming of the pillars around the door grew louder, the air vibrating with energy. Lyra moved quickly, stepping in front of him. Her hand flared with light, and a barrier of shimmering blue energy formed between them and the hunters. You must finish it, she said urgently, her voice rising over the noise. The core is awake now. The door is open. But only you can take the next step. Alex shook his head. I don't even know what that means. Trust me, she snapped, or we both die. The hunters slammed against the barrier, cracks already forming in the shimmering wall of light. The ground beneath them began to break apart. Huge cracks opened, light poured through them, and the entire clearing shook violently. Alex looked at the door again, now completely alive, the glowing symbols spinning faster, its surface almost blinding. Lyra grabbed his wrist and shoved him toward it. Touch it again, she shouted, but this time don't let go. Alex's mind raced, his body screamed at him to run, to hide, but there was nowhere left to go. The barrier shattered behind them, the hunters rushing forward, claws outstretched. Without thinking any more, Alex slammed his hand against the door. This time, the world didn't go black. Instead, the light from the door shot through him, through every part of him, filling his chest, his head, his veins with fire and ice all at once. He felt himself being pulled, torn, apart, and rebuilt, screamed, or maybe he didn't, because sound no longer made sense. In the corner of his vision, he thought he saw Lyra smiling faintly, her own body glowing as if she was waking from a long sleep. The hunters reached them just as the light exploded outward, knocking them all backward like leaves in a storm. When the light faded, the clearing was empty. The door stood quiet again. The hunters slowly rose to their feet, their white eyes scanning the silent air. But Alex and Lyra were gone, and far above, in the dark clouds swirling over the ocean, a faint golden crack began to spread across the sky, as if the world itself had just been opened. Asterisk the proposal. When Alex opened his eyes, everything was wrong. He was lying on a cold surface, smooth like glass, but it glowed faintly beneath him. The air was thin and sharp, full of strange whispers, though he couldn't see anyone. He sat up slowly. Around him stretched an endless plain of black glass and golden light. Massive towers floated in the sky, connected by streams of energy. Strange stars blazed above, but they moved too quickly, spinning in circles, blinking in and out like they were alive. Alex stood, wobbling slightly. His body felt different, lighter somehow, but his hands still trembled. Behind him, the air shimmered, and Lyra stepped through. But now, she looked different too. The faint glow under her skin was brighter now, and her hair floated around her as if underwater. Thin streams of light wrapped around her arms and shoulders. Her eyes were still blue, but deeper now, darker, like a storm. Where are we?" Alex asked. His voice echoed strangely in the open air. Lyra looked around slowly before answering. "The threshold," she said softly. "Between your world and theirs." Alex stared at her. "So, we're not on the island anymore?" She shook her head. "No, the core opened the way here. This is where they keep watch. This is where their war begins." Alex's stomach sank. "And us?" She turned to him then, her expression serious. "And us," she said. "We stand on the line. What happens next depends on what you choose." Alex frowned. "What choice?" Lyra stepped closer, her strange light bathing him in soft blue glow. "You opened the core," she said. "You touched its heart. It changed you. You may already feel it." Alex glanced at his hands. Now that she mentioned it, faint threads of golden light crawled just beneath his skin, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. He swallowed hard. "What does it mean?" Lyra raised her chin slightly. "It means," she said, "you are no longer fully human. The core marked you, made you its keeper." Alex froze, stunned. "Keeper? I didn't agree to that." Her lips curved slightly, but it wasn't quite a smile. "Yet here you are." The strange towers above them began to hum softly, sending ripples of light across the black glass floor. Lyra's expression hardened. "They are watching us now," she said. "We don't have much time." Alex took a shaky breath. "Then tell me, what am I supposed to do?" Lyra's eyes seemed to glow even brighter now. "Free me," she said simply. Alex blinked. "What?" "Free me," she repeated. "Break the last seal. The hunters cannot stop you anymore. The core chose you. But you must do it now, before they send something worse." Alex shook his head. "And then what? What happens if I free you?" She stared at him for a long, heavy moment. Then, softly, but clearly, she said, "If you free me, I will make you the most powerful man on your world. I will give you the strength to destroy them, to protect your people, your planet. But if you refuse, if you walk away now, they will burn your world to ash, and you will watch helplessly as they tear it apart." Her words hung in the air, like a blade between them. Alex took a step back, his heart hammering. "So it's me or them?" he asked bitterly. Lyra tilted her head, her strange blue gaze unblinking. "It was always going to be you," she murmured. "The moment you stepped. On the island, the Corps chose you. Even if you refuse now, they will still come for you. But if you accept my proposal," her voice grew softer, almost a whisper, "you will never be helpless again." Alex clenched his fists. He thought of the hunters, of their cold white eyes in the dark. He thought of the vision inside the Corps, of cities burning, oceans boiling, people screaming. But he also thought of her, chained, trapped in that prison, her eyes full of quiet suffering. "And what about you?" he asked suddenly. "You said you were a prisoner. But why? What did you do to deserve this?" For the first time, Lyra looked away. "I refused them," she said quietly. "They wanted me to help destroy. I chose to protect instead. So they locked me here and sent the hunters to guard me." She turned her gaze back to him, fierce now. "I have waited for centuries for someone strong enough, brave enough, to finish what I started." Above them, the stars shifted, and a massive shadow passed over the plain, blotting out the strange light. A deafening roar shook the air, and the towers flared red. Lyra stepped closer, her voice urgent now. "They know you're here," she said. "If you do not choose now, they will choose for you." Alex looked down at his hands again, at the golden light under his skin, now pulsing faster. He looked back at her strange alien face, her stormy eyes, her outstretched hand. Behind him, the shadow grew larger, and the whispers in. The air turned into screams. He swallowed hard. "And if I say yes?" he asked hoarsely. Lyra's lips curved faintly. "Then everything changes," she said. He stared at her for another long second, then slowly reached out and took her hand out. The moment their fingers touched, a blinding flash of light exploded around them, and the plane shattered under his feet. He heard the hunters screaming somewhere far away. He heard Lyra's voice in his head, calm and steady. "You've chosen well." And then the world tore itself apart, and everything went white. Asterisk the escape UN. The blinding white light faded. Alex found himself falling, not just falling, tumbling through a storm of colors and shadows, faster than he thought possible. The world stretched and twisted around him, like a shattered mirror trying to put itself back together. He hit the ground hard. When he opened his eyes, he was lying on cracked black stone under a dark red sky. Lightning forked overhead, but there was no sound of thunder. The air was heavy and hot, thick with dust and whispers. Alex groaned and pushed himself up, his hands scraping against the rough ground. He turned his head and froze. Lyra stood nearby, but she was no longer just glowing faintly. She was burning. Her skin was alive with light. Her hair floated around her like silver fire, and her eyes blazed so bright he had to look away. The air around her shimmered and bent, as if the space itself was afraid to touch her. "You did it," she said softly, her voice now layered with something deeper, something powerful. "You chose. The bond is complete." Alex blinked, still catching his breath. "Where are we?" She turned her gaze to the horizon, where massive black spires rose from the ground like jagged teeth. "We're still inside their domain," she said. "This is the place between worlds, their stronghold." Alex's stomach sank. "So how do we leave?" Lyra's expression hardened. "We don't," she said, her voice like steel. "We fight our way out." Before he could even respond, the ground beneath them cracked. A wave of energy shot through the stones, and the air filled with a high-pitched scream. Alex looked up, and his heart stopped. The hunters were here, but not just a few hundreds of them. They moved like shadows, tall and thin, their white eyes blazing in the darkness. They crawled over the spires, emerged from cracks in the ground, floated down from the sky. A deep roar shook the air as the largest of them appeared, a towering creature of pure darkness, its arms like spears, its face a blank mask of light. Alex stumbled back instinctively. How do we fight that? Lyra stepped forward, her light flaring brighter, and raised her hand. We don't fight it, she said. We outrun it. She grabbed his wrist, and suddenly the ground beneath them lit up with a trail of glowing blue symbols. Run with me, she ordered. Don't stop, no matter what. Alex nodded, though his legs already felt weak. The hunters screeched in unison and began to close in. Lyra launched forward, pulling Alex with her dot. Their feet slammed against the glowing path, and it carried them forward faster than they could run alone. The spires around them blurred as they sprinted, the red sky flashing white as bolts of lightning struck the ground behind them. The hunters followed, crawling, flying, slithering, their shrieks filling the air. Every time Alex looked back, the massive one grew closer, its long arms sweeping through the air, tearing apart the spires like paper. Don't look back, Lyra shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. Alex forced himself to focus ahead, on the glowing path beneath them. But then the ground cracked violently. A wave of dark energy ripped through the path, and the trail split apart, throwing him into the air. He slammed into the ground, skidding across the rough stone. When he looked up, Lyra was already at his side, her hands on his chest. Get up, she commanded. We're almost there. He groaned, but she pulled him to his feet, and they ran again. This time the hunter so close he could feel their cold breath at his back. Then he saw it, ahead of them, a massive circular portal hovering above the ground. Golden light poured from its center, brighter than the sun. That's the exit, Lyra shouted. But as they got closer, the largest hunter slammed down in front of them, blocking the way. Its eyes glared like burning ice, and it raised one long, jagged arm, ready to strike. Alex froze, but Lyra didn't. She stepped in front of him, her body blazing with energy now, so bright it hurt to look at her. Keep running, she said. I'll hold it off. Alex grabbed her arm. Wait, you can't. Go, she roared, her voice shaking the ground. The hunter lunged at them, but Lyra threw up both hands, and a blinding wall of blue light slammed into it, knocking it back. The other hunters shrieked, recoiling from the shockwave. Alex stared at her, stunned. This is what I was made for, she said, her gaze still locked on the massive hunter. But you are made for what comes next. Alex hesitated, but only for a second. Then he turned and sprinted toward the portal. Behind him, he could hear the battle, the roar of the hunter, the crack of energy, Lyra's voice calling out in words he didn't understand. The light of the portal grew closer and closer, until it swallowed him whole. He fell through the light and landed on soft sand. Alex gasped for air, blinking against the sudden calm. The red sky was gone. Above him stretched a quiet blue sky, the sound of waves gentle in the distance. But when he sat up, he realized this wasn't the same island anymore. The sand shimmered gold, and strange towers rose far off on the horizon, faint and shimmering, like a mirage. He stood, looking around, his chest heaving. Behind him, the portal hung in the air, slowly shrinking, its light fading. And just before it closed completely, a faint voice echoed through it. Her voice. We will meet again. Keeper. And then the light vanished. Alex stood alone, a strange wind carrying the whispers of something ancient across the golden beach. But he wasn't afraid anymore. Not of the hunters, not of the island, not of himself. Because now, he was something else. And whatever came next, he was ready. Asterisk. The choice Alex stood alone on the golden beach, his chest still rising and falling with heavy breaths. The portal had vanished behind him, leaving only silence and the faint smell of burning air. He stared at the horizon where strange shimmering towers rose far away, like ghostly mountains. The sand beneath his feet still pulsed faintly with light, as if alive. He was no longer on Earth. He knew that now. And he knew there was no going back the way he came. He began to walk Dot with each step. The sand shifted and changed, from gold to black to something glassy and smooth. Above him, the sky was blue at first, then purple, then dark as stars began to appear, though it still felt like day. But what struck him most was the quiet. The whispers were gone. The hunters were gone. Even Lyra's voice, so sharp and steady before, was gone. He felt her absence like a weight in his chest. After what felt like hours, he reached the edge of the beach, where the towers began. Got up close. They were massive, taller than any building he'd ever seen, made of black stone and light that moved like water down their sides. And at the center of the towers stood a platform, a circle of white stone, glowing faintly. Dot, as Alex stepped onto it, the air changed. A soft wind began to swirl, and a voice, deep, ancient, and not quite human, echoed through the space. "Keeper." Alex froze. "You have crossed the threshold. You have opened the core. You have accepted the bond." The voice came from everywhere at once. Alex swallowed hard and spoke into the air. "Where am I?" The voice answered, calm and cold. "You stand at the seat of judgment. Here, you choose what will become of your world and of yourself." Alex glanced around. Judgment? What does that mean? The light above the platform flared, and suddenly 2 paths appeared before him. Got to the left. A long black bridge stretched into the distance, leading to a towering spire wrapped in shadows. The air above it churned with dark clouds and lightning. Dot to the right. A golden bridge arched toward a great shining gate, beyond which he could see faint green fields and soft light. "2 paths," said the voice. "One leads to power. The other to peace. Both have a price. Both have a weight. Only one can you walk." Alex stared at the 2 bridges, his chest tight. "What happens if I choose power?" he asked. Dot, the voice answered without hesitation. "You will become what the hunters fear. You will destroy them, but you will never return to who you were. Your humanity will be gone. You will carry the burden of a weapon, not a man." He looked at the dark path and shivered. "And if I choose peace, you will free your world of them," the voice said. "But you will forget. The bond will break. You will live as you were before, but you will never remember what you saw here. Never remember her." Alex's heart sank. "Never remember her?" he whispered. "Not even her name," the voice confirmed. He closed his eyes, the memory of Lyra's. Strange glowing eyes and quiet sadness flooding back. He could see her standing before him, whispering, "We will meet again, Keeper." He opened his eyes and stepped back, staring at the 2 bridges. Darkness and strength, or light and forgetting. Suddenly, a faint shimmer appeared beside him, and he saw her. Lyra. She stood just at the edge of the platform, her body faint and transparent now, her silver hair floating in some invisible wind. Her eyes met his, calm but full of unspoken words. "You choose now," she said softly, "but you live with it forever." Alex took a slow breath. "What would you choose?" he asked. She tilted her head slightly, her glowing eyes watching him. "I already chose," she said, "and I paid the price." He stared at her for a long moment. Then he turned back to the 2 paths. He thought of Earth, the streets of his city. The people who never knew the hunters were even there. He thought of himself, who he'd been before the storm, before the island, before her. And he thought of her, the prisoner who had saved him, who had trusted him to finish what she started. Slowly, Alex began to walk. He stepped toward the dark bridge. Lyra, single quotes, S faint image, watched him silently as he moved. Forward, the shadows of the spire ahead, swallowing the light around him, got as he walked. The golden light beneath his skin began to flare, brighter and brighter, until his entire body glowed like a living star. And above him, the towers trembled. The voice spoke again, but this time softer, almost respectful. "So it is done." Alex did not stop. He did not look back. He walked into the darkness, his figure becoming part of the shadows, his light cutting through the storm above Dot. And as he disappeared, the faintest whisper, her whisper, followed him. Keeper. Behind him, the golden bridge faded. The light gate vanished, Dot, and far away, on the distant worlds where the hunters watched and waited, a new star blazed suddenly in the black sky, bright and fierce, a warning, promise Dot the Keeper had chosen, and everything would change.